Today on the Rundown, we're starting with the latest in tech news, breaking down the biggest stories and their impact. Then, with the holiday season in full swing and millions of people out spending billions of dollars, we're diving into our main topic: commerce in the digital age. How is technology transforming the way we shop, from online trends to retail innovations, and what does it mean for businesses and consumers alike? Let's dive in. Welcome to the Rundown. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rundown. My name is David Pesca. I'm so happy to see all of you. And look at this amazing panel of friends I have here today. Hey, everybody. Hey, Tamara.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Do you still have shopping to do?
I do still have shopping to do. I'm
right.
counting down the seconds, and with Amazon on strike in California,
Wait, what?
supposed to do it
Oh
in
my gosh.
person.
Wait, save that. Holy moly. I didn't even know that. Paul, how are you down there in Texas?
Great. I'm doing good.
Fantastic. By the way, I saw you on Extra Hours. It was fantastic seeing you there. Really, really nice.
Thanks. It's tough. It's a tough show to get on. So I'm glad I got on it.
Because my standards are here. You far exceed my standards, as does Lois Richter. Hello, Lois.
Hello. Good greetings from California, where it's cold and wet and rainy.
Cold and wet and rainy. You doing well today?
So that's winter. Actually, today wasn't bad. It was just foggy.
Oh, okay. I'll take it. I'll take that. Mr. Dave, how is it up there in Canada in negative, what were you last time? Negative 30 something?
Oh, not that deep. No, we were about 18 last time, and it's only 20 today. So
only
minus 20, pretty normal. We're going to get to minus 8 tomorrow. They promise this stuff. We have a thing called the Mercer effect, dedicated to a famous guy. And the weather forecast is always better by Friday. And then when you get to Friday, it's not that good. They revise it as they go. And they're always promising days in the future, it's going to get better, And this is our Canadian Mercer effect. So
okay.
If you've ever seen a Rick Mercer rant, then you know what I'm talking about.
Well, you've got one more day for it to get better. So
there is that. Yeah, I got a rink
you.
to finish doing here, and it's too cold to flood a rink. So you got to wait till it gets up about minus 5, minus 10. Then you can flood a rink, and it works really good.
There you go.
Otherwise,
hey, John, you going ice skating anytime soon?
Well, we do have an ice skating rink that they set up down at the plaza, at the Customs House Plaza. I have not managed to get on it and break anything, but if the grandkids come down, we might see if we could get them on the ice.
I love it. Fantastic. It's so wonderful to have all of you here today. We're following the same trajectory we did last time, some news, main topic, but we're also going to try something a little extra this week. And that's because we got some fantastic viewer comments, which I wanted to share with all of you. So the first one comes from a friend of mine that I know from Discord, and specifically from QCam and Video Pencil from that world. His name is John During, and he sent in this audio comment for us, or this video comment for us to watch. Check it out.
Hey, David and crew, I watched last night's presentation, and a thought, you discussed AI quite a bit. And the thought that I had is that really this discussion is not for us, but for future generations. The thought is that what we do with it now has implications for younger people, how they learn, how they organize. I'm really interested in what young people are doing with it and how they interact with it. I share your excitement for everything, and I understand the concerns that people have. And it's not a small problem. And look forward to you picking this up and moving along with it, but bringing in sort of like, what are we leaving? How are we organizing it? How are we making use of it so that other people who are coming along can get the most out of it, because they're going to be relying on it far more than we do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And John, thank you so much for sending that in. It's wild to think about how new and exciting all of these technologies feel to us and seem to us today. And then to think about, you're right, the young folks for whom they're going to become reliant on these products, and knowing how to navigate them and how to facilitate their use to their greatest effect is really going to be just absolutely fundamental to their success as they grow up. I also heard from JB Windle over in Discord. He writes, "It's been fun listening to the rundown. Your recent conversation about online privacy reminded me of 2 products that I've been very happy with." So get ready to write these down. These are some product recommendations. The first one is joindeleteme.com. It's a service that searches the web for information that data brokers have on you and then submits legal requests for them to delete it on your behalf. They send you regular reports on where your info has been found and where they've taken it down. It's pretty cool. Second service is called simplelogin.io, and it allows you to easily set up a burner email address that is easy to manage, but all still come back to your primary inbox. It's pretty slick. Keep up the good work. JB, thank you so much for watching. Do any of you use any of those tools? Do you use the Join Delete Me or the simplelogin.io?
I don't, David, I don't use either of those tools, but I registered 100 domain names, and I set up catch-all on all the domains. Do you know what catch-all is?
No,
Have you
what's
heard of that? Catch-all means that if say I've got a domain called wholetech.com, that's one of them. If you send an email to any address there, if you send something to you ignorant nerd at wholetech.com, that'll get to me. If you send an email to Peter at wholetech.com, it'll get to me. And then I funnel all those into a very strict filtering process where I'm really filtering. So it's like funneling everything down to the essentials. It used to be that it was chaos, and now there's order out of chaos.
Amazing.
And what's the name of that, Paul?
It's just it's a homebrew deal. It's like I registered 100 domain names. I pointed them all to the same email address, and so they all funnel into one place, and they get heavy filtering. So I have total control over it. I don't have to jump around to.
When you say you point them, you have a domain name and you point it at an address. How does that work?
So I can.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah. So I'll just very quickly. If you go into let's say you have an account on Hover, that's where I have all of my accounts, right? So then in Hover, I have, say, a domain name here, and then I can set up name servers, which is where the website itself is hosted, and I can then point it to there, or you could also create a forward and you can point it that way. This is the better way to do it, and the reason is because if you don't use HTTPS, the forwards don't always work. So really, you set up name servers and you can point your domains to wherever you want. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I do want to thank JB for sending in those links for us, and also to John for those comments. You know what I really want to do is, first of all, I have to. I'm sorry, but my daughter just wrote that she's watching on the big screen. So let me give her a big fat hi. Okay. That was from my daughter. Hey, can we just, let's get to the news.
Yeah.
So we were talking just before we came on about what I think is the really exciting news, which continues to be these AI advancements. And a lot has happened this week alone. 2 quick ones for you. The first is Notebook LM. Notebook LM got a complete makeover. Notebook LM now looks like this. So if this is my Notebook LM. If I open it up, I now have 3 panes here. I've got my sources, I've got my chat in the middle, and I've got over here all the different tools that it can do. But what's very cool is this piece here called interactive mode. So if I click on interactive mode, what's going to happen is it's going to load that, that two-person podcast that it creates. And we're not going to wait for it here, but it then allows me to ask questions to the people who, let me remind you, are not really there. I can ask questions and they will respond to my questions. It's a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Notebook LM has gotten oh, you know why it's not loading? Because it was asking me for permission. Sorry. So here we go. So here's the, I can now join this. I could play this if I want. I can join it. I don't even know what happens. Let's see what happens.
Welcome back, everybody.
Oh, wait. Someone wants to join. Hey, go for it.
Hey, this is David. What are you all talking about today?
They're ghosting you.
Yeah, they are. I don't think they like me.
No love.
Hello. Oh.
Well, hey there,
Okay.
David. Thanks for
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wait, it just
chiming in.
It's great to hear from
amazing.
you.
We're diving into how technology is completely changing retail.
Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating topic.
You-
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
So what do you mean when you say retail? I'm not sure if I'm supposed to stop talking or press something.
It's a lot.
That's a great question, David.
Yeah, let's unpack this.
When we say
they
retail,
always
we're
work.
talking about the whole process of selling goods and services to you, the consumer.
Basically, think about any place you go to buy stuff.
That's a lot of
retail.
fun.
This could be physical store.
It's a lot of fun. So that's Notebook LM. The other big update, it continues to be coming from Chat GPT. And so here, let me, so I can now pull up, I've got Chat GPT now on my desktop here, right here at the bottom. And I now have this button here, which allows me to speak to it in natural language. Hey, chat, you there?
Hi there. Yes, I'm here. How can I help you today?
So listen, I'm about to do this podcast with some really good friends of mine, and I'm looking for something interesting to talk about.
That sounds exciting. Since your podcast explores technology's impact on human connection, maybe you could dive into how technology shapes our relationships and communication?
Okay, how did you know that? Because I actually didn't tell you that.
Oh, I apologize for that confusion. I assumed you might be interested in technology topics since I know you're a technologist. But I should have asked first.
No.
What?
You're right. I'm just freaked out that you knew that.
I understand, and I'm sorry if that felt surprising. I just know you're passionate about technology and how it intersects with various...
Oh my gosh. So
could, if we spoke, would that hear
all right,
us?
let's try
talk?
it. Let's try it. Ready?
Oh my God.
Hold on. All right, Lois, hold on. Go ahead.
Hey, chat, what would be the best way to have technology for a worship in the redwoods?
That sounds like a beautiful setting. To blend technology with worship in the redwoods, you might consider portable and eco-friendly options. A battery-powered speaker system can help amplify sound without needing electricity. You can also use tablets or smartphones with pre-downloaded content to guide...
Okay. This is just
That's pretty amazing.
it's
there.
just too too much fun.
A Zoom meeting.
That's what science fiction has been promising us for years,
yeah,
right?
But there's actually one better. So on the mobile app now, let's see here. So I'm going to pull it
Computer,
up.
scan this nebula and tell us where it's from.
like to know about Parashat
No. So chat, hold on one second. I'm actually going to show you a picture. Can you sort of describe what you see?
Sure, go ahead and show me the picture. I'll do my best to describe what I see.
Take a look. It's on my screen right now.
I see displaying a video call with a person wearing glasses and a blue shirt. There are also some video thumbnails at the top of the screen and what looks like some audio equipment in the background.
Thanks so much, chat.
You're welcome.
So now on here, you can show it your camera, or so you can just aim it at something, or you can actually show it what's on your screen. And what's interesting about that use case is that if there's an email that came up or a chat that came up and I just don't know how I want to respond to it, I can actually say, hey, chat, take a look at this on my screen and how do you think I should respond? And then it can craft that response for you. Yesterday they announced that you can now call 1-800-CHAT-GPT, and you can interact with ChatGPT through your. They actually did it with a rotary phone, which was hysterical. They called with a rotary phone. For those of you who don't know what a rotary phone is, it's where you had to turn the dial. And now through
They used to
WhatsApp,
sell,
also,
You don't know what a phone is.
Right.
Landline.
through WhatsApp also now you can
Through
if you
a
put
real phone,
if you
yes.
put 1-800-CHAT-GPT in your contacts, you can speak to ChatGPT through WhatsApp. In any case,
When I was a teenager, there were party lines where you could dial in and hear hundreds of people trying to have a conversation. So,
right.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people?
Oh, yeah.
Party lines were like 5.
Well, not the party line from the farm or any of that, where it's all one line and everybody's on it.
Yeah.
It's an actual number that will host 100 calls, and you hear all these
that-
people
yes.
having conversations. Yeah.
I never
I mean-
heard that called a party line. Okay.
That could potentially be a super lucrative thing, though, because I ran a 900 number for 2 very well-known soap operas in the mid 90s, and they originally did them so that people would stop calling the studio, and they're like, just 10 calls would actually pay for it, and they made like $20,000 a month because thousands of people called every single day. So that's potentially a new revenue system for people.
There you go. Just amazing. And and not only that, by the way, but also Google came out this week and said, yeah, you know what? We can top that. They released their Willow, what's it called? Their Willow
State-of-the-art quantum chip.
quantum chip, right. And
Did
apparently
you actually listen to all of that, David? I listened to the entire thing.
I did the entire thing, but I know nothing.
Made no sense at all. I couldn't figure out
why is
what
David
was
making
it
me do this?
supposed to do.
What's interesting about it is that I don't think we have the answer to that yet, Lois. I don't think we know
It's
what
doing
it can
it
do yet.
faster,
Right,
whatever it's
exactly.
doing.
Exactly.
It's solving problems we can't currently solve. I just, as like super techie layperson that I am, I watched the whole thing and I was like, I did even extra research because I was like, okay, I'm a smart person. I'm not this smart of a person. let me try to find more. And I still, whenever I hear things like, whenever I hear technical people talk about technical things, they say things like, we can solve problems we've never been able to solve before. And I just want to know what is the baseline of what we can solve now so I can know what might be solvable that we can't solve.
Right.
And that was
How do
exactly
you know
what I
what's
was.
You'd have to
No
have
one's
some
tried to solve
experience. You'd have to have some experience with its extremely large piles of data. So geotechnic movement of the plates of the Earth is a calculation that takes days.
See,
the
I
U of
knew
A
there'd be
has
someone
3
on
or
this
4 of the
panel.
top geophysicists who are examining the movement of the plates and trying to predict earthquakes. And this, I knew you liked earthquakes. This is why I brought
I
it up.
love earthquakes. They're my favorite natural disaster.
So these physicists sit around in front of computers and lay in a whole bunch of data gathered from all over the world. And then they crunch it and they all go to bed. And then they go to bed again. And then they do their email the 3rd day. And they come back about 5 days later and they've got one image, one sort of concept model that's dynamic. And then they do it again.
And so this
See,
will.
that's very helpful.
Yeah.
I watched that video and I was like, this is super cool. I sense it's cool. This guy is way smarter than 99.9% of the people that I know. And it was like one of those things where I was like, this is huge news. I have no idea why it's huge.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's huge for a couple of reasons, but I'm glad you mentioned super cool because I was wondering how hot it gets. Because it's contained inside this cryogenic chamber, and we don't get this. The computer's not small. It's a massive building-sized computer, but the chip itself is only about 2 by 2. Now, I'm worried about its power consumption in order to monitor that and get inputs and outputs. So that information is still coming, and it won't be for your average mass production. It's just not going to be. because as John will probably support me with, whenever they make chips, they have a failure rate that you can't get the substrate even all the way across, and then they test them for speed, and they're not good enough, and they throw them away. So there's 17% usually in a disk that are thrown away. And when you're doing super, quantum size stuff, you're going to have more failures or fallout, and then you're going to get the ones that really go. The other thing that they mention in there is it seems to be doing computing across dimensions. I really want to, I'm going to meet a physicist and ask them about that. I know a couple who could give me the answer, but I'm thinking, like, what kind of multidimensional computing is going on inside a tiny little quantum object? Yeah.
What amazes me most, I think, about what's happening now is that, Tamara, is sort of what you said before, is that we don't yet know how
Right.
these tools are going to be used and how they're going to change the world. And that's both terrifying and exhilarating.
Wouldn't you like to know when the next earthquake comes?
And
Right.
there's
No,
also-
absolutely. Lois, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's also the fact that if we had not mentioned this announcement, most of the people would never know that the announcement happened. And I'm sure there have been lots of announcements in the past that nobody mentioned, so I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
So-
And the truth is that, until ChatGPT comes out, which is until they came out with a consumer facing product, they had been making models for years. I mean, they had been working on that for years, and no one like you and I hadn't heard about it. So until, again, this quantum computer chip is something that is consumer forward facing, or can predict earthquakes, I'm not sure most people will hear about it. It is pretty
But we'll hear
amazing.
about drones.
We will
David.
hear about
What is
drones.
about
So,
drones?
Lois, here's the thing about the drones. Okay, first of all, I don't have a drone. I don't know how to fly a drone. I'm not a gamer. I don't really care about drones. I don't get it. But millions of people do. Is there a reason for us to be afraid of these consumer devices? Are they posing a threat? This isn't some other country sending their drones. I mean, they have lights, for goodness sakes. If it was another country, they wouldn't light themselves up and
fly in dark, yeah.
scream, here I am. These must be consumer somethings. Yes? Am I wrong about that? And
If they're
a hush
visible, I
fell
guess
over
they
the
are.
room.
Yeah.
David, why don't you say what you're talking about? Because right now it doesn't make sense to our listeners.
Well,
What-
look,
what's
I think
happening?
it's hard for people to.
It's a widely.
Yeah, I think it's hard for
widely
people not
news
to get around.
covered,
So there have been large drones flying over New Jersey, not just New Jersey though. They've been seen other
California.
places. There was
Yeah.
a report in Ohio the other day that I saw. They do seem to be, at least the reporting seems to suggest that they are near military bases. The government has done a terrible job of saying absolutely nothing about this. That is to say, they should say something, and they haven't said anything. Other than, don't worry about it. People are saying that news broadcasts and social media are depicting strange winged aircrafts that look like small planes or car-sized drones. This is from a report in The Verge. The drones would fly back and forth for hours, some witnesses say. Following reports, the FAA banned drones from flying over President-elect Donald Trump's New Jersey golf course. Well, thank goodness he's safe. The rest of us, we can all go down with the. Are there commercial drones that big?
Yes. Yes. There's one in Edmonton here that flies the day before any hockey game. It's going over the city and showing beauty shots of the city. And then it gets permission to fly over the downtown and do all the approaches to the arena and stuff. And you see this in the Vegas coverage as well. They fly a drone over the main street and that. So these are commercial drones hired to shoot video being used in broadcast. And I've used a drone myself to do a project, and we were too close to the airport, so the drone pilot couldn't fly it. It just wasn't going to go.
Yeah,
So if you're in an area that's sensitive and secure, then it won't fly.
Paul,
they're abundant in
what's going
Austin.
on here?
I mean, they have a whole institute that's out by the Colorado River where the 360 bridge is, and they have these personal drones. You sit in them and they've got, you know, propellers all around, and they're very common. They're really getting to be a lot more popular for, you know, personal transportation around Austin.
So do you think that's what is happening here? Is that what these are?
I have no idea.
John, do you have a
Well, I
sense
don't
of
think
what
they'd
we're
fly.
up against
idea.
here? Who are we being invaded by, John?
Well, I have no idea, but the one story that I could relate is here in Monterey, we have the Naval Postgraduate School, and they obviously there's a lot of tech people there, so they had an amateur radio club. And at one of the club meetings, and this was back in the late 90s, one of the ham radio operators was describing what he was doing. And in fact, we had a flood here, a heavy rainstorm, and he was pulling out his drone and flying along the levee to check for where a breach might happen. And basically, he was researching drones, and he was like a kid in a candy shop. He said, "I'm being paid a lot of money to buy model airplanes and experiment with them." So, and that was, I think that was probably 97 when he did that presentation. So they've been around, obviously, in military settings. The current Ukraine war has, shown drones to be very effective. I assume that we'll never know what really happened, or we'll know. I won't be here, but maybe many years later when the files come
behind the
out.
scenes.
But my assumption is that in trying to defend our country with potential things that drones can do, we try to do war games. We do experiments. Again, with the Navy Postgraduate School, they have done a number of things where there's a beach there, and it was, if somebody was going to try to come and float up the beach. So my assumption, this is something that the government is doing to test things that they need to know about protection for our airspace.
You know what?
I can also
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
can
Dave.
also mention that a colleague of mine has actually got a contract now to make drones to look for forest fires. Because, of course, up here in Canada, everything burns in the summertime. So he actually is going to make a few hundred drones, which are going to be used by the firefighting crews to see a fire and know where it's going. So
Amazing.
they're all good.
You know
So
what?
David, you said, gee, can you buy these things commercially? So I went on Google and I said, largest drones for sale. And
Yeah.
I like, it was a whole bunch of stuff. The 7 best heavy lift drones for sale in 2024. And it shows them all. And the best one can lift up to 22 pounds. And they're talking about like on a
Yeah. Like the
carrier.
Amazon,
tether.
Amazon
And then-
is starting to use those to do short.
And then if you look at it, you can get a, $2,000 drone with a little control, or you can get this $24,000 drone. It's huge. And it's like, yeah, there's drones out there.
There are drones that, you know what we need that would really help us figure out what these drones are right now? We need a $30,000 camera. That's what we need. If we had this camera that was just announced for, is it pre-order from Blackmagic, we would be able to see those drones in full 3D glory. This camera, of course, see, I'm learning from Lois, and I'm becoming a master of segues myself. These cameras are built by Blackmagic specifically, it seems, to create content for the likes of the Apple Vision Pro. So my question for you is, as someone who has never before used VR and has really no interest in using VR, should I buy this camera?
No.
What is
David, if you have $30,000, I have a
going
good
to be, is this a real thing? Are people going to rent these and purchase these and and create content? And are we all going to be wearing goggles soon?
Yes.
I'm not. I don't know. about-
People, like average people, no. But don't you think, I think that that's going to be the segue for where like the entertainment industry goes, and people like studios will, this offers studios a chance to kind of move into that arena. And
So
since
we're going
traditional
to be
media is not
watching
happening.
we're going to be watching movies with goggles on.
Well, I
Well-
can tell you haven't lived till you've done it. Like, you got to go down to the Apple store and get the Vision Pro put on your head before you can talk about it, because it's an experience.
Yeah, I can't afford it, but I would love
Right.
it. Right.
No, they'll give you a
And
free
I
demo.
do think that you're looking at, in the past, the average person couldn't make movies, right? You had to have a studio who were making movies.
Big
The reason
gear,
the studios are doing so badly right now is because the average person can make movies, can make content. And so I think that this is kind of the next place for bigger, the average person is not going to buy a $30,000 camera. They're not
No,
even
of
going to rent a
course,
$30,000 camera.
of course.
Right.
And in fact, my wife who's watching wrote in the chat, "We are not buying this camera." That's,
The average
Forget
millionaire,
it.
the average millionaire might like
Yeah,
this
you might.
toy.
right.
And do
but
I
the-
want
no,
someone
it's-
to? Yes.
Right,
Because
the
I just
professional
want
in
there
the
to be
business.
Put it
content.
on their drone.
Yeah,
And-
there you go. You see, now you're talking.
Yeah.
Flying people around.
You buy the
where they
$24,000
cannot
drone,
go.
the
Yes,
$30,000
you put on the
camera.
goggles and you go flying. Yes,
I want them to send that
absolutely.
camera to
Lois, you
space.
got the next business idea. Put that down.
I
Okay,
really do
so-
wonder. I just want to say, this is for another show. We can dive more into this, but I don't know. The idea of of all of us watching movies or playing games with goggles on, and I understand that Apple Vision Pro has this pass through and tries to let you still be in your real world, but I don't know. It's, we're here to talk about how the technology impacts our lives, and it seems to me that
Sure.
there's just so much negative.
And how many years
Oh,
ago did we all say we were going to spend $1,000 for a telephone
Okay,
that we were
but
going to
No,
put
but
in
forget
our
the
pocket?
price. I'm talking
But
about the
that's what I'm
impact.
saying. Like, I do think that they will they'll continue to grow. The first cell phones were like the size of a small child. So I do think that like these are the beginning steps of whatever the final area is. I don't think this is I don't think this is the end all be all. So I don't think this particular product is for everybody. But do I think it's going to be part of the future? Absolutely. And I can't wait. And if they want to have cameras that will force people into making content so that it becomes more widely available, all for it.
See, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I just,
I'm
I
not
just
gonna
want to
buy it,
interject
but
here.
all
For,
for it.
David, do you
Hold on a second.
remember?
John and then Lois. Go ahead, John.
I just want to interject that this is old news. If you come to California and go to the Morro Bay State Park, where we have a granite rock, and go to the California Visitor Center, one of the things you could do in an exhibit, and this is what literally thousands of classes have done. They go to the park, they do some exploring on the past, they go out and weather pending, they go through the museum, they learn about the wildlife that are there, they learn about conservation, and then they have an exhibit where they have the class go in, they have 30 VR goggles. This was produced about 5 years ago with not terribly expensive equipment. And it's one of the most effective learning experiences that the students have, because they're there, they see the granite rock, they've seen some of the animals that were, stuffed models, they've gone through some of the materials, and then this brings it to life in a way that we couldn't do any other way. And the ranger who's there says it's most fun when the fog is so heavy that you can't even see the rock, but they get the goggles and say, oh, that's what it looks like. I'm going to come back when I see it. So all we're seeing is the continuum. And I think when you talk about, the first portable phone, I think of the university. At some point at my university, they decided every campus should have a satellite phone. And that satellite phone worked great. It was about the size of a
Brick.
brick, but a big brick. An antenna was only about 4 feet long, and it would only work if you stood outside away from any trees. And they gave it to all the presidents of the university, because if there was an emergency, and the university system has been used in emergencies because we have housing, we have services. And our president said, I'm never going to carry this. John, you play with it. you like the gadgets. But of course, now you know that, well, we really don't have phones. We have cameras that we carry with us,
Right.
that happen to make phone calls. So, I mean, it's just getting better and cheaper. And I think it will be interesting to see if having a camera at that price, which is really extremely cheap when you compare the cost of doing an IMAX camera, to be able to create content for the goggles. It would be fun to watch, but it's not new news. We've been doing it for a lot of years, just not as great a resolution, not as impressive in terms of the display systems, because the goggles we're using it at the state park are clearly not at the level of the Apple Vision Pro, but they're only going to get better, smaller, lighter, and more effective.
Last word to you, on this, Lois.
Do you remember when you had these glasses you put on the movie theater, one color red, one color green? You looked at the movie and it suddenly was 3D. And before that, there was the duoscope, where you could see two images that were slightly different. And so your brain went, 3D.
It was a
I
Viewmaster,
can
yeah.
see that this technology would be a very lucrative thing for David's a very lucrative thing for some company that would have the audience borrow these glasses in the theater to see the film. Why not?
So I think that the problem we had is that there was an attempt to shift to 3D television. It was about pre-COVID, I think. I'm trying to think, was it 17 or 18?
16, 17,
yeah. CES. And Samsung, Sony, LG, and they had the lightweight goggles. They were the shutter ones. And there was an attempt to create a great deal of video content. And the consumers did not budge.
Right.
And we, like you said, Lois, prior to that, we did the blue-red glasses, which was a cruder way of doing 3D. But I remember seeing a 3D movie when I was probably 8 years old, and the best part of it was a clown who blew up a balloon and it went out to you, and then the lion. But once you got those three shots,
you were trying to
done.
grab it. You try and grab them. So I'm not sure that I understand the VR piece of this, but I do see AR as a really important piece of the future. And in particular, I've actually used it in certain consumer apps where I've been out trying to buy something and I want to see it in my room. Amazon has this, a few others have this, where you can
IKEA has it.
Right. Where you could, before you buy something, you can see what it looks like in your room. So what I'd like to do is shift us and ask you, are you a digital or a in-store buyer? What is your preference and why?
It's not black and white. It's not black and white,
But
David.
I'm asking you to make it black and white just to spark our conversation here, because I'll start. If I never have to go into a store again, I'm fine with that. I buy all my clothes on Amazon. Unless I need something within the half an hour and I have to go to Best Buy to get it, I will never go into a store again.
Okay, I will answer your question, David, but it's not going to be to your liking.
It rarely
that's
is,
usual.
Lois.
Yes, I know. So again, we have this overgeneralization problem. If I'm going shopping for groceries, okay, I will always be in the store. I have my grocery list made up. I have it ordered by what aisle things are on. I go into the store, I go around the thing, I check out, and I'm done.
And I use Instacart, and I never need to go into the supermarket again.
Yes, but I get exactly what I want. I get the brands I want. I get everything's perfect. If I want to buy an object like a piece of electronics or a luggage or whatever, and it's just a thing, I can do research online and just order it, and that's fine. But if I am doing something where the thing has to fit me, like I'm in a pair of boots, I'm going to have to try those on my body. There's no way I can do anything but in person.
Which is why Amazon has why Amazon has a subscription service where they will send you a bunch of clothing, you can try it on and then send it back. They have
you do that, I won't.
They have made digital purchasing so easy.
I would love to be an in-person shopper, but I have found more and more, particularly since in-person has come back, that every time I go to the store, they do not have what I'm looking for. It is not on the shelves. It is not in my size. I end up wasting so much time looking for something. And then in California, in Southern California, everything is locked up behind, glass that I have to then press a buzzer to have someone. By the time that person gets there, Amazon could have delivered it because I can get same day delivery in Los Angeles. So I'm finding that even when I want to do in-person shopping, it has become 10 times more difficult, even for groceries.
Dave, you had a couple of interesting sites that you found that sort of capitalize on the move to digital purchasing, digital consumerism.
That's right. The first one was Watch Us Women. And it's a store that decided that they would do in the video, that is a YouTube video, what you would experience if you were in the store. Someone would show you a thing and then show you how it fits and show you whether it fits you. And they would show you the other options for this. Or if you don't like the sleeves on this one, we have this. And this is great for these occasions and these things. So this lady here actually owns the store, and she talks directly to the camera and talks to you about why she's showing this to you and the sizes that it comes in. She also has models that are all different sizes who come on with the outfit on and show you how it fits. And then they get to say how much they like it or whether they think this is too tight or whatever. And then you get a sense
this just
of
the Home Shopping Network?
No, it's not quite home shopping because it's aimed at someone who's looking for a particular thing. And they only cover certain things. Now, these are my wife's suggestions for you guys to see. I do not shop for dresses, so just so you know that. And I do not shop for backpacks either. But the other one that was on is Pack Hacker. Pack Hacker is, again, one of these sites that is specializing in a particular kind of product and one that is particular to you. You go into a Pack-Sack store and you look at a lot of them before you make a decision, and you have particular needs you think you will need during travel, and these guys will demo it for you and they'll show it to you, and then you can decide whether you want to order it online or have it sent by way of Amazon. You have that option. So these two companies have decided to take the salesperson and put them on your screen. And I remember being in Bloomingdale's with my wife in New York, and they loaded up a whole arm full of stuff. And they asked her a bunch of questions and went over it again and again. And then seeing her in a few of the outfits, changed their mind and said, you really need to be looking here. And she got something that's absolutely fabulous, but she wouldn't have without a salesman helping. Tamara's talking about a problem that I've encountered. We were trying to buy a raincoat for our son, and there's a store here called Canadian Tire, which is really just a department store. It used to sell just tires, now it sells everything. And we called them and said, look, we're planning on going across town to this place, and we wanted to know if this particular thing you have on your website is in the store, because we don't want to waste our day. And they said, oh, yeah, we have 3 of them. And we went, oh, that's great. Okay, so we made plans to get over there. We get into the store, we go to the rack, the guy takes us over, and they don't have any. Because the database is not the same as what's in the store. And when you talk about not having stock, we can always tell in our area, when you can't see a lot of stock in a store, they're about to close it. And they're just stocking it out. And you'll never get any service unless you buy it online. So
you also just raised one piece of this sort of digital revolution in shopping is the purchaser on the purchaser side, but on the store side, on the retail side, there have been tremendous changes. Also, Paul, you were asking, I think it was you were asking about contactless payments. Was that you in the doc?
No, that was me.
Oh, it wasn't me. No.
He doesn't write anything down. John doesn't write things down.
Sorry. So, but I mean,
sorry, Paul.
So I have just discovered the beauty of paying with my Apple Watch. It is magical. I don't have to take anything out. I press a button twice and boom, I'm done. Businesses have also had to drastically change the way they receive payment, the way they take care of stock, the way all of those different things to accommodate this digital revolution. And I just heard today that, what is that? Party City. I don't know if you all have Party Cities where you are. They've just declared bankruptcy for, I think, the second time or something in this year. I don't know how companies can keep up with digital purchasing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't carried cash in 3 years. It's been 3 years since my wallet had cash in it.
Yeah.
I just got a new car, and one of the things it has is Hyundai Pay, meaning I can set it up and I can check in. When my gas tank is low, it'll say, your gas tank is low. Would you like me to find a gas station for you? And it gives me a list of all the stations with what purchase price they have, and then you can also filter it by Hyundai Pay. If I have it set up, which I don't, you can drive up and pay with your car. My car, which has its own internet, can pay for gas.
I know my Hyundai's been nagging me for days to lock the door, but it's in my garage. So I ignore it. I'm ignoring
I
that.
love that feature. It texts me and it's like, you left your door unlocked. Would you like me to lock it for you? I was like, yes, please.
You know, in the olden days, when that kind of technology first came out, it was the door would be left open. The car would say, "The door is
Door
ajar."
is ajar.
And I kept saying, "No, it's not. It's a freaking
It's a
door."
door.
It's a door.
Right. Oh my Lord.
But David, you brought up the point that, you were asking about us as consumers, but it's the whole food chain that's the issue. I have a family member who's worked in retail and digital aspects of it. And so we're really talking the whole supply chain. Now, there were some great values of physical stores because they would do heat mapping and see where things are. And if you go to the grocery store where you have to go there, shelf space was the key. How many feet of cereal can you get? But we're talking about a change of behavior at one small part, which is a very long chain of what are you going to produce, how many are you going to produce, how are you going to get them to the right people at the right price at the right time without needing to get, like you were saying, down in LA. We have the same problem here in San Francisco. My wife wanted to buy a Coke or a soda, I should say. Let's not advertise for anybody. And, you had to push a button, wait for somebody to come to take out the $3 can of soda. I have no idea how much they were paying that person per hour to be able to just come around and open doors and handing people things. But
We'll
I
have
think
elevator operators soon, yes.
yeah. But again, the gray beard, back in the 90s, I was working on a project with a bank, and they were so excited about tellers, automatic, money machines, ATMs. And they were contacting our company because they wanted to create a video screen so that you would feel like you're talking to a teller, because what they found in their research is people had no problem taking money out of a machine. That felt
Right.
good. But
Giving it though.
they clearly didn't want to put any money in, not their checks or anything. And so it took a while for the consumer to get to that point. And this couple nights ago, we went out to see a show. We wanted to have some money to provide some tips to the people who are going to be serving us at the restaurant. We went to the desk of a hotel, and they're totally cashless.
Yep.
Mm.
And so, I mean, I think we are going through a transformation. The challenges, and we've all had that challenge where, you check and is it there, and it's not there. But more times than not, currently we lost our power for 3 days here in Monterey, the horrible weather storm that we had that took out a lot of trees, a lot of power lines. And I was able to identify a store that had the product that I needed. It had to be 25 miles from Monterey, where they were all sold out within minutes. And it literally told me the shelf number and location in the store. And I walked up and showed this to the person. They walked me to it. They pulled it out. I got the generator, came back, and we saved our freezer from the real tragedy would be the turkey that we cooked. We would have lost all that. So
That speaks to some of the changes that I think are interesting. It's not an either or. It's not an online or a not online. It's how our behaviors have changed in general. So I noticed, for example, if I'm going to buy something and it's kind of an item that I want, I used to go in and maybe look at all the different stores and compare and contrast. Now I do that research at home before I go. I already know which store has it. I know who has it. I've already done the research. I've watched the YouTubes. I've done the reading of reviews, all of that. The other piece that's really interesting is that if you go to like Macy's or JCPenney or a big department store and you use their app, you can do things like scan the price and see what's on sale and what's not on sale. So I found I was taking my mom or trying to find, things that'll fit her and, find stuff. And, she's dealing with her walker and her wheelchair and all these things. And, trying to find out what was actually on sale, what wasn't on sale. I was able to take the app out, scan it myself, and find out information. So I think it's not just an either or, it's how has technology changed how we shop? What do we do before we go? What do we do when we get there? How long do we spend? And when we do, and how are they keeping us there? As soon as you start interacting with the app, they're constantly texting me, "Hey, you missed this thing that you saw the other day." I mean, that's where I think there's become even more a seamless experience where it's not, you used to order things online and it was vastly different. It was like a whole different building, but now it's really seamless. What you do in the store and what you do at home are almost identical experiences. And
Sorry, you had said a couple months ago, I think, I remember you mentioning to me, and I don't even remember the context, about the impact of consumer reviews on purchasing.
Yeah, I think that I think that a lot of how shopping shifted was with Amazon. Amazon, when they first came out, and you can go to the Wayback Machine, it was literally a gray page like all other things in 1994, 95. It basically said, it had a couple of things. It had, you could put your email in. What a great way of them to get your email address. You could put your email in and they would send you sales in your area. That's all they did. They didn't sell anything. And then the other thing they had was this service called Eyes. And what you could do with Eyes is you could say, "Hey, I read this book. I heard about this book. Tell me about it." And someone on their staff would read the book and would write a review. And that was, again, they didn't sell anything in the beginning. But when they started becoming more of a marketplace, one of the things they started offloading was the reviews to consumers. So now we didn't just have a small team of editorial people reading through, and providing information, and you didn't have salespeople who have a job to do and who have an agenda. You could then go to Amazon and read actual consumers. And after a while, they started to verify if those consumers were consumers. And even if you don't purchase from Amazon now, if you kind of are interested in something, one of the things you might do is go to Amazon. Best Buy does it. Every single store now does it. You can go and look at what real people say about it. And I think that did shift consumer buying and habits more so than anything else. And that was before they started selling anything.
And
of course, if you look at what David did at the very beginning of the show, having that conversation with non-real people, many of you may remember Consumer Reports, which had the idea that they had a lab and they tested it. And the whole idea of lab, electronics, refrigerators, and other things had to be certified for safety and other things. Now it's a very different thing. But in a way, the New York Times Wirecutter has become sort of a Consumer Reports of getting things out. What made me think when you were last saying before, though, is that with all this convenience and stuff, with Uber, there's surge pricing. If you try to get a cab at the end of a show, it's double the price what you do anytime.
Right.
I really worry about the time when, as the toilet paper is running low in the store, there'll be people running and the price tag on it is going up as
that
the
already
quantity
happens,
goes
doesn't
down.
it?
Yeah.
I mean, that already
Algorithmic
happened.
pricing.
Yeah.
One of the things that was in our little, perhaps I should tell the listeners that all of us on the panel get a description from David about
a rundown, if you will.
A rundown
for the rundown. That's it. And one of the things that it said in there, I noticed it said that the decreased online shopping. While the pandemic accelerated online shopping, in-person shopping is making a comeback. Prospect Insights and Analytics reports a decrease in online shopping from 46.5% in 2021 to 29.9% in 2023. And I'm going, okay, in 2021, that's when the lockdown happened and you weren't wanting to even see anyone else. I mean, we ordered our groceries from the store in town. They had a big truck that came and delivered it. And then of course we washed it all with bleach water and all that other stuff. But that was the time at which I'd say 90% of the people that I knew were actually getting their groceries delivered. Now, we don't have the lockdown anymore. People are out and about. So I'm wondering how much of that 46% to 29% is just food.
Possibly. I also think that going to the store is somewhat of a social experience.
Mhm.
And whether you go with friends or if you just go because there are other people there and you want to speak to human beings. I mean, if I go to Home Depot or something, one of the things I enjoy about going to Home Depot is that generally speaking, or Lowe's for that matter, I'm not doing an ad for Home Depot, the people who work there generally know what they're talking about. When I go to Best Buy, again, not an ad for Best Buy, I generally know that they have no idea what they're talking about. And, so either way, it's a social experience. One of the things that is also shifting now, I think, which is fascinating to me, is that social experience is also shifting online. TikTok Shop and the way TikTokers are capitalizing, literally making capital on by selling things in that social media landscape. It's absolutely fascinating. Instagram.
But even within like our own community, if someone on office hours says buy this, there are many people
Right.
in the middle of the show immediately putting it into their cart, right? Because when we respect whoever it is that gives us that information, and it doesn't matter whether we know them or whether it's a review or whatever that is,
or whether we
that
need the
is
object.
very impactful. So community is incredibly impactful for behaviors of consumerism.
Yeah, absolutely.
But David, I think you've said it, that the shopping and going to the mall is a social event. But if you look at the layout of the malls, what you see in the windows, the demographics of the people at the mall, it typically is a young person's game in the 25 to 35 age bracket with funds at the general high-end malls. When you get into other shopping areas, whether it's Home Depot or Lowe's for the handyman or garden shops, but there clearly is a social aspect of shopping, and we're seeing that happen with the social media sites, like you said with TikTok and the like. I like Lois. I don't think it's either or. I think it is very interesting that as we move away from the COVID, where we were sort of forced into using alternative methods for shopping, we're beginning to see what the preferences are for people. And it would be an interesting study. I know I no longer buy things that are extremely heavy, salt to replace my water and my water softener, or things that are bulky, large orders of paper towels. I don't do that anymore. They're big, they're heavy, and those can be delivered to my house.
Yeah.
I do panic when my wife asks me to go get a particular item in a store, because I don't do that all the time. She knows exactly where it is. For me, it's the equivalent of finding a needle in a haystack.
Or asking someone.
Oh, no, that doesn't help. I've tried.
I do think stores similar to like TJ Maxx or Home Goods, stores that do not have a standard inventory, those are still places where people have to go in person, because most of the things they buy are not things they need or went in for. They are things that
and because you schmai around.
Right, because the experience of shopping there is not, and their websites are kind of lame because truthfully, no one's using those websites. So I think that that's also part of that shopping that has gone up, or people or places that really do require in-person shopping. There's just nothing better about that than going and kind of seeing what's there and picking up what speaks to you, even if you went in for something specific.
Looking at the retailers that are doing well in person and not doing so well, my impression is that if it's a super giant big place, you can get it online. And why bother going in person? But if you're talking about, oh, I want to get a present for my aunt's birthday or something, then maybe going to a one-off store, which is not a chain or anything, the handcrafted artwork, hand-tooled belts, whatever, that kind of a thing is still profitable because it's small. It's not trying to get 1,000 households to buy this month. It just needs to get enough for the smaller quantity that it's making.
Yeah. Dave, go ahead.
First of all, you guys can tell me. I can't remember the name of the street in Chicago where all the major stores are. It's downtown. I wanna
State
say
Street.
Merchant Street or
So there's the Golden Mile, which is not
Yeah.
as golden anymore, that had the high-end stores. And then
Yeah.
there's Michigan Avenue that
Michigan Avenue. Okay. Well, I was shooting in Chicago in about 1991, and we had a day where we could do some shopping, and we went to the Sony store. What struck me about the Sony store is 3 or 4 floors of gear, lots of audio gear and video gear. Lovely place for a guy who likes tech. And there were no prices. And I asked the guy, why are there no prices on it? He says, oh, we don't sell them here. This is a pavilion store. And it
Wait,
was meant for people to come in
You just
and
go
look
and,
at
and
things.
look? You can't
Yeah,
buy anything?
and then if you like, no, but if you like something, you tell them, I'd like to buy that. And they go, okay, we'll write you up and send it to you.
Oh my goodness. How interesting.
And next to it was the Nike store, which was a whole different experience because you go in and it's 8 floors of sports stuff, but you don't buy anything. You hand it to the salesman and they put it on an elevator and it goes down to the main floor. And as you leave, then you pick it all up, but you don't carry it around the store. And these are brand new experiences for a guy from Canada who usually carries a bag. So, this kind of change was experimented with where it would be a pavilion, not a store. And you go in, you discover all the things they sell you, and you don't get to try them on. You just give them your measurements, or they measure you up with a laser, and then you leave, and your stuff arrives at your house.
Yeah. Paul, you're in Austin. Like that's one of the tech capitals of the world. What is shopping like there? Do you ever leave the house? Do you have one of those Whole Foods that, where no one works and things like that?
Well, the Texas grocery scene is dominated by H-E-B. It's a monster chain that's everywhere. And we've got Trader Joe's, we've got Whole Foods, but we don't have any there's no competition for H-E-B. And Trader Joe's is kind of in a very unique situation because they have less stock and they have a whole different philosophy of merchandising, and it's, and of course, if you want something from Amazon, it's there like in 3 hours. It's just
So, but Paul,
phenomenal.
in Austin, Texas, you have to go to Amy's Ice Cream to have the scooper
I've been
scoop the
there
ice
many
cream,
times.
toss it up in the air, and catch it in the cone.
Wait,
You
is
can't
it,
get
hold on.
online.
Is that a real person doing that?
Yeah, real people.
Oh, I
Amy's,
thought you were
it's
going to tell me it was a
fantastic.
robot or something. I'm like not excited about a real person throwing ice cream around. I can throw ice cream.
Yeah, they hire comedians to
I want to
serve
see
the
a
ice cream.
robot do that. I
You
want
know,
to see
that's like-
Optimus Prime do that.
It's like Seinfeld's, comics driving cars. This is comedians serving ice cream in Amy's Ice Cream.
David, you mentioned the Whole Foods. Have you ever been in an Amazon Go?
I haven't.
So
Oh, I
Amazon
take that back.
Go,
I saw one at an airport, but it was closed, which I didn't quite understand because no one has to be there to open it. Like, why would it
so
not?
there are people in the store. I mean, I don't know because I went to them when I lived in New York, and at first I was like, this is creepy. I'm absolutely not going to do this. And then it was like, well, you have to go do this. So you download the app and you go in and you grab whatever you want, and then you literally can walk out. There are people in the store to kind of help you who are stocking, and you have to be careful because like if you take something out, it automatically adds to your app. So you want to make sure that if you put it back, so it's a little bit different. But what I found fascinating is I got out and it sent me all of my information right away, and it said you were in the store for 35 seconds, and I was like, well, tomorrow I'm going to beat that time. It became like a game of like, how long can I go into the store and what do I need? Because like the first time I was there for a minute because I had to like look at the layout of things. But this, after that, I was like, you know what? This actually is amazing.
What
Wow.
kind of stuff were they selling?
So it's almost like a 7-Eleven type convenience store in some ways, like a convenience stuff. But where it excelled was it had local like meals to go. So it'd be like salads from a local restaurant, like not kind of convenience food salads. So that was really interesting. It's like the baked goods were not just like your normal kind of baked goods or like the gas station brand. It was something like the bakery down the street, right? So it was kind of a mix of just convenience items that you might need, and to a degree, things like a razor or things that you might have forgotten, toothbrush, toothpaste, but not, I mean, it was not the size of anything bigger than, kind of a one-room store. If you needed to heat something up, there were microwaves, all your cutlery stuff.
And
But it was
it a
really-
more efficient shopping experience?
It still creeped me out because I was like, well, this is weird. It's kind of weird. But I did find, because I was teaching at the time and I would like run and go grab something and leave. And I was like, actually, for on the go purchases, it was amazing. Because all I knew was I needed a water before I got on the train and I could go in, grab my water and go. Like for that kind of experience, it was vastly different than going to any other store because you were not going to go hang out there. And you could watch people go in and they had a purpose. They knew exactly what they were getting, when they were getting. They're like, I go in, I get my bagel, I get my coffee, I leave. And so if it's that kind of a store where you're not going to be like, I wonder what I feel like
It's
having
not
today.
that, and it's not a social experience.
It's not a social experience. It's literally a run in, run out. And there's enough people in the store that work there to say hello to you. So hey, I'm not in the store by myself. And your phone keeps track of everything that you purchased and tells you how long you were in the store, which I was like both creeped out and
they
challenged.
gamified it for you.
So
Yeah.
that sounds similar to a lot of the grocery stores we have in our area where you go, you get your stuff, put it in your cart, you go out. You don't go to a person, you just go to a place and you run your
Scan it
things
yourself,
through.
sure.
And at the end it says, okay, you're going to pay me now. How are you going to pay me? Here's a credit card, and it does it. And you don't have to interact with a human being if you don't want to.
Yeah, Amazon Fresh is like that. So Amazon Fresh is a little different than Amazon Go. You can get a cart that as you put things in your cart, it has a screen and it adds things up for you. And you pay and you don't have to deal with people. But also, the people in Amazon Fresh are probably the best salespeople I've ever met. They have greeters. They help you get things if you need them. There's a limited supply of food. So, it's not every single mustard, it's 5 mustards, So, but it's, and you can, if you don't want to do that experience, you can take a regular cart and go through you can either choose self-checkout where someone will help you if you need it, or you can go through the checkout line. And I've never been in the checkout line where they didn't go, hey, you're about $2 away from getting a $10 off. Do you want to go grab something? I mean, it's such a lovely shopping experience.
Hershey is watching online, and he says, and he's totally right. If you want to see old America, how shopping used to be, go visit Dillard's. Have any of you been to a Dillard's? No. So I've been to a Dillard's. It's the old timey country shop on the East Coast over here. That's fantastic. All right, so here's what we're gonna do, because we've hit 10:10. My original goal for the show was 10 o'clock, but now it's 10:10. Let's make the rounds. What is on your shopping list? Whether it's for Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, or just because you heard someone talking about it on office hours, as Tamara was saying. What's in your shopping list? And where are you going to, not the name of the store, but are you going to go into a store to buy it, or are you going to buy it online? Tamara, what do you say?
The thing that I purchased was that I already was on my list was the Shocks Comms, and I did go to Best Buy, but I did look at them online as well.
Paul.
I've got way too much stuff. I'm selling.
You're
buying.
selling.
I'm selling. Everything's for sale.
Where are
Everything
you selling?
Must go.
Wait, but where are you selling? Are you selling?
It's a tough pick because I don't like eBay. They take too much of a cut, and you know, Craigslist is kind of scary, and you know, there's a
Facebook
few
Marketplace?
like ham radio sites where you can sell stuff. I can sell my ham gear on there, but it's a tough thing, you know.
Try next
Now
door.
we've got the tariffs coming now, and supposedly now this is rumor. You know, call me on it if I'm wrong, but what I heard in passing, you know, I was just walking by some news today, was that Canada's going to get 25% and China's going to get 10%. So there's probably going to be some kind of buying frenzy, you know, and
Well,
we'll see.
you better list your stuff quickly then, so the
Exactly.
buying
Well,
frenzy
no,
comes
I
to
better
Austin.
wait. I better wait.
Oh,
till-
wait,
till the
hold on to your
prices
stuff.
go up.
Exactly. All right, Lois, you're up. What's on your list?
Well, actually, I need some new shoes. From the hip thing. Anyway, I need some new shoes, but I'm going to have to go in person because I have to make them fit my feet and be comfortable. So,
All right, there you go. Dave, what are you shopping
Shoes
for?
are very important. Shoes are extremely important. Yes, for this time of forward, you'll never forget your shoes. I need some mozzarella, so I'll be going out to get that.
Did you just say mozzarella?
hmm Yeah, we ran out just yesterday, and in order to do a recipe later this week, I'm going to have to get some mozzarella. Now I
I
have to
love
wait
this.
until.
So wait, are you
know,
Instacarting it? Do you have Instacart in Canada?
We do. Well, we have a similar.
Okay.
We have, but a lot of the major food retailers are delivering. Like they have vans that are going
Right.
around, and they have people who shop for you. And I
So
keep
do you
bumping
do
into
that?
those people with my cart. No, I shop in person because it's a social occasion for my wife and me.
There you
I
go.
get time with my wife to go shopping. You know,
Very
we
nice.
don't. Yeah, that's great.
John, what are you shopping
Also,
for?
I do all my Christmas shopping before Christmas. I do
Me
it
too.
back in August.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Canada. Yes. John, what are you shopping for?
Well, David, you did it in August because that's when winter hits Canada.
See, he's
luck-
aware. Yes. that's why you do it.
Luckily, my family doesn't listen, so they won't know that tomorrow my wife and I are going to be getting socks for everyone. We know that's something they'll use. But at this time of year, and it's so great that we could be talking about shopping and our experience in shopping. Part of what we do this time of year is shop around for the charities and the organizations. In Monterey, we have a thing called Monterey Gives. It lists some 90 charities from the ASP, you know, the animal shelters, children's museum. So that's the shopping we're going to do, and we do a lot of that online because we go online and look at their sites. They are usually pretty good at saying what things they do. The people who we've donated years before still send us things, and I keep telling them, don't send us things. We'd rather you save that money and use it for your cause. So that's the shopping that we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks to get the donations out before the end of the year.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And as for me, really just one thing. just one thing.
your wife says
Honey,
no.
come on. It's just
They're watching
You'll
on
have
the
to
$30,000.
wait
big
till next
screen.
year.
Just $30,000. Hey, by the way, Hershey
Take her
wrote,
to an Apple store and get the demo, and then that'll
then
convince
we'll
her.
talk. I just want to bring in this one last comment that Hershey said, that he said, for people with disabilities, that reality of getting to the grocery store in the past, before the pandemic, was already difficult. However, having foods delivered to people or your groceries, it taught us the need of those living things that were missing, which is basic living necessities such as groceries and other items that we used to get or we still get delivered today. So I wanted to bring that up, and thank you, Hershey, for putting that in the chat, because thank God all of us are, I hope, please God, we're all healthy. We're able to choose to go to the store if we want to. There are many people who can't, and these technologies have made shopping for those people, I think, in many ways far more accessible, and that's really important also. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. If you are celebrating next week, our next show, we are meeting next week. For those of you who are available to join me, I'll be here. Hanukkah isn't a big deal for me. So for us, you know, it's some oil that lasted longer than it was supposed to. So it's like I don't have to take a day off. But if you are celebrating Christmas, I want to be extra sure to wish you a Merry Christmas. I hope it is peaceful and blessed for you and for everyone who celebrates with you. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, 8 crazy nights, let's go get them. If you're celebrating Kwanzaa or anything else, celebrate, be happy. Thank you all for joining us. And we will see all of you next week on The Rundown. Bye, everyone.